Professor Dharmaraj, to deliver a lecture, how to improve writing skills. Actually, we chose Professor Dharmaraj because he is an voracious writer. A man with few words, but writing many words. So we thought Professor Dharmaraj can give you some tips, improving. Everyone knows how to write at this stage. For better communication, or how to make writing as a habitual practice on daily basis. So I think he used to write at least minimum 2-3 hours per day. So it's going to be always fascinating for me to see a person like him always writing intellectually and sharing the knowledge with society. So this is our great privilege, sir, to have you as the resource person instead of your busy schedule, accepting our invitation and going to deliver the lecture about writing skills to the participants. On behalf of my own and behalf of the organizing committee, so I welcome Professor Dharmaraj to deliver his lecture. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor Dr. Chandrasekhar. A warm and a cool good afternoon to everybody else, because we are facing the good breeze and the good rainfall today here in Tamil Nadu. So it is a cool afternoon. So I convey my regards to the organizers of this winter workshop, winter school program, particularly Professor Chandrasekhar and then his fellow scholars and other colleagues. So I need some kind of sharing option. Mohan, can I get the sharing option here?
Yes, sir. In your window, in the lower right corner, there is 3 dots. If you click that, there is a present now option. Sir. Present now option.
Yeah.
Present now, window.
Present now. Okay. Yes.
Sir.
Yeah.
Share window or?
No. Actually, I want to share my desktop. A window.
Yeah. Yeah, window.
Okay. Yeah. Is it visible?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. This is the title in which I am going to talk today. It is about it is basically about my experiences and my ideas on writing the skill as a skill. But our organizers asked me to talk about the writing skill abilities which can be shared with the participants of this winter school. But since my profession, as well as my habit, my hobby, everything is related with writing. This kind of statement may be surprising to many of the participants here, because writing can be a hobby or as a technique, as a tool for a researcher and all. But writing is a profession for me. I am professionally talking about writing and doing writing because my basic idea and my basic degree is basically the language oriented. It is not linguistics. But it is the culture of language. That is my basic degree. So I talk about and I think about what kind of culture is evolved through writing and how writing becomes a culture. So this is what my area of study. And since writing is my area of study, then I used to write. I used to write means I live in writing, basically, as what Professor Chandrasekhar referred. I think about writing and I live as a writer, and I am known for a writing personality. It is a habit I developed from my childhood, and then I face a lot of hurdles in it. I face personal problems in it, and how to learn writing, and what are the mental abilities you require to do the writing and all, and how do you understand writing is very much related with thinking. So I want to give this title of this lecture. It is going to be an sharing of my ideas, not a great lecture on similar to the climate change and all. I want to share my ideas. I want to share my agony. I want to share my success and how I overcome the hurdles in doing the writing as well as doing the thinking. So for me, writing is not a skill, basically. It is a way of thinking. I write through think and I think to write. So the both are synonyms for me. I write because I'm thinking. I think because I'm writing. So this is the basic area. René Descartes, a 16th century Cartesian philosopher, famous saying, I think, therefore I am. So now we can say that I think, therefore I write, therefore I am an academician. So we have three kinds of subjectivities here. As a researcher, I think, and I write, and I research. So these are related synonymical words: writing, thinking, and doing research. So I'm going to share my ideas about the writing is how writing is thinking, how we can do thinking process through writing, and what are the hurdles we face in the name of writing, and how it is related with the thinking process of the human being. This is the major idea which I want to share with you people. So there is a common slogan everybody used to hear about that, starting from the researchers up to the authors, the famous authors. Everybody faced this problem, that is a writer's block. Everybody will talk about the writer's block. Everybody face this block. So what is this writer's block? It is a famous slogan. So everybody have this kind of block in this writing process. So while doing the PhD, the academicians used to say that we are experiencing the writer's block. So when I was in JNU, Jawaharlal University, we used to do the way PhD scholars used to talk about how to overcome the writer's block. So writer's block is a common headache. It's an allergic one. It is a common headache of the academicians. So writer's block is nothing but when you feel no kind of words in front of you till the horizon. So it is an agony. It is an emotion when you want to write something, when you have a lot of ideas within you, when your mind is boggling with ideas and new kind of ideas, and you want the urge to share with the other fellow academicians, but you couldn't find even a single word to communicate that, even a single word to write it down, and you will be having only the white papers and the pen. You are left alone with the white papers and the pen. This kind of block is called as a writer's block. Everybody is facing this writer's block. Nobody can avoid this problem. Even an amateur writer, as well as the professional writer, as well as the Nobel laureates. A lot of Nobel laureates talk about this writer's block. A lot of researchers talk about this writer's block. So the writer's block is a common name, as a common symptom for a researcher, for a writer, that he faces a basic problem that he couldn't find even a single word in a time of urgency. So these are the basic questions everybody will have. Every researcher will have this kind of question. When when she attempts to write a academic paper or a project report or a lab journal or some kind of any kind of writing, even writing a diary itself, everybody feels there is a block in language. The pipeline is not smooth. There are a lot of blockages in the language pipe. So this kind of writer's block creates a lot of questions. Why stutter while writing? Why I stop? Why I couldn't find a flow in writing? So what is that flow? What do we mean that flow? And how this block, this writer's block, suffer the flow of the writing? So we used to hear that some kind of writing or a good writing has a flow. As a reader, everybody will look for the flow in the writing. There is a good flow in this article. There is a good flow in this short story. There is a good flow in the speech, in the oratory. So a flow is a common metaphor which is used whenever you are working with the language. So this flow is missing when you enter into the process of writing. As a reader or a hearer or at the receiver end, at the receiver's end, everybody is looking for a flow. Even we also look for the flow in an essay. There is a kind of flow in the logic. We can call it as a logic or a flow. In a normal term, it's a flow. So there is a flow in the text, a flow in an essay, a flow in a writing. But as an author, when you start writing something, you felt that you struggled to create that flow. That is what I want to say, that it is a stutter, a stuttering of the writing. We used to call the stutter as in terms of speech, but even in writing we stutter. Our pen will not move for the next word. So we feel a lot of problem in finding the words. At a given period of time, we feel that we are in a vacuum of words. We lost our words. We couldn't find a correct word, a proper word. Then we started our struggle to find a proper word. So we stuttered while writing, we missed the flow, and we felt that we are in a vacuum of words, and we search for a proper word, and we used to say that the word is in my mind. So when a good speaker will say that I remember the word, it is in my throat, it is in my mouth. So I remember the word. Similarly, when you write something, when you write a paper, the same kind of problem is looking for you, and that's the same kind of problem you will be facing, that you are looking for a particular word that you remember, but you can't retrieve it. So this is a peculiar problem, you know. So in a language, it is a peculiar problem that you remember a word, but you can't retrieve it. You can't retrieve it from your mind. You can't write it down on the paper, but you remember the word. You know that there is a proper word. There is a correct word. Then you go and search for the thesaurus or the dictionary or some kind of encyclopedias to look for that proper word. So this is a major problem in writing, that we look for a proper word, which we remember that there is a proper word, but we can't retrieve it. You can't write it down. So we have a hazy idea or a blurred image of the word, and that blurred image of the word creates a lot of problems. That is the stuttering of the writing. So this is the basic problem. We stutter and we lost the flow, and we felt that we are in the vacuum of words, and we felt that we remember a word which can't be retrieved. And we becoming very agitative, and we look for some kind of solace from somebody else, or we look for some kind of reference from the dictionary, or we look for some kind of bunch of words from the thesaurus, and all these efforts will make the agony very intense rather than solving it. You can't achieve that proper word in any time of your lifetime. But that proper word, you have an idea that I remember that proper word, but I am missing it. I can't create a flow in the writing. So now the people are asking another question: is there something called the proper word? What we felt as a lack. So while writing, we lost the flow, we stutter, we felt that we are in a divide of words, and we remember that there is a correct word which we know, but we can't retrieve it. And now this problem should be addressed in a different angle, saying that whether is there anything like a proper word in this world? Is there something called proper word? So that is the basic question, and if you address this question, then you can clear the writer's block with you. What is that proper word which you remember but you can't retrieve? So this is the major problem every academician, every researcher, every person who involves in the process of writing faces. He felt that there is a proper word for that particular sentence, and that proper word he himself remembers it, but he can't retrieve it now. This is the major problem every researcher is facing while doing the writing process, and this is the problem of all the authors of this world, and we call it as writer's block. When we face this kind of problem, when we are struggling in this situation, in not finding the proper word, then we vacate that disk and we get away from that process, and we felt that there is a block in writing. We can't write anything else. We can't do anything more than that. Then we call it as it is a bad writing. We don't know what a writing skill is. I lost my skill. I don't know how to write. And I lost that flow, and I don't know what are the words are. And we came to a conclusion that there is two kind of writing. One is good writing and the bad writing. A good writing consists of a lot of proper words, and a bad writing is void of proper words. And this is the basic question I want to address in this lecture: whether an idea of proper word or the imagination of a proper word is correct or not. Is there anything called good writing and bad writing in writing itself? And there is a last person who is sitting always within everybody else. He is a linguopath. He wants to tell that he is a culmination of we can say that everybody has this kind of subjectivity within everybody else. There is one linguopath in everybody else. Who else are struggling to read and write, and who else are taking this as a profession. In everybody else, there is a subjectivity called a linguopath. That linguopath is a worst critic of the world, and he always refers that whatever we write is not right. Whatever we write is not right. So, how to manage with that linguopath within ourselves? So, linguopath is part of our subjectivity. So, part of our subject. So, everybody has their own linguopath within ourselves. So, how to live with this linguopath, or how to kill that linguopath? So, it is a kind of psychopath. Like he is a psychosis of a language. So, everybody has a measurement, as a critic, as a culprit within everybody else, and he always says that whatever we write is not up to the mark. So how to overcome all these questions is the basic problem which I am going to address in this sharing, and these are the things I want to talk about. Why we lost our flow and why we stutter, why we feel that we are devoid of words, why we are feeling that there is a vacuum of words in ourselves, and why we remember that there is a proper word but we can't retrieve it, why we have the imagination saying that there is some kind of proper word or a correct word in every place. Is there good writing or bad writing? And what to do with the linguopath who is living within us or within me? These are the basic questions I want to address here. And before that, I will tell you there are a lot of myths about writing. What is writing? And there are a lot of myths. Everything has a myth. So writing is basically a medium. It's a medium means it is a communication between one person to another person. It is a medium, and it is a medium of monologue. You can't do the writing as a group. Writing is not a group activity. It is a monologue activity. A person sits on his table in a solitary way and write down something. And similarly, a person who reads also sits on a solitary way and reads something. So it is always a monologue, even a writing as well as reading. So whatever you do with the literacy is a monologue. A literacy never requires more than a two-person. Literacy is very accommodating within a single person. So we call literacy as a monologic one. But at the same time, it is a medium. It is a medium, it is a communication tool in absence of a person. So that is the basic problem in writing. While writing something, you write for a person who is not present here. But speaking is something different. Speaking is something very different from this. So we all know that speaking is the first phase of language and the writing is the second phase of language. So writing emerged from speaking activities, speaking ability and all. But language is a tool of medium. It is a communicative tool. We know that. But writing creates a different kind of situation. You can write for a person who is in his absence. So writing is always monologue. But at the same time, the third thing, writing is historic also. So whatever you write become a past, because whatever you write it down becomes solidified, becomes static. When you write down, even for a diary, if you have a practice of writing diary every day, and today, at the late hours of today, you jotted down whatever happened in the entire day, starting from your wake up and all. So at the instance of writing everything, the day becomes a historic to you. It becomes a past. So writing makes everything a dead, a fossil, an object. So as long as you are not writing anything, it is in the present day, in the present. As soon as you write something, it becomes a past. That is why writing is very much related with historic. When you write something, when you write anything else, it becomes a history. That is why writing is a medium, it is a monologue, it is historic, but at the same time, it is cultural also. It is not a natural one. Writing is a man-made human evolution. Then we call it as a culture. So these are the basic ideas of writing. It is a medium, it is monologue, it is historic and culture. But there are a lot of myths about writing. Everybody used to say this myth. Even everybody believes this myth. Writing is a skill which can be learned. That is what the first kind of myth that is injected in our brain now. Whenever we start to read alphabets in the childhood days, even at that time itself, people used to say that writing is a skill which can be learned, but it is a major myth of writing. It is a major myth. Writing is not a skill which cannot be learned. Writing is not a skill which cannot be learned. Writing is a practice which cannot be learned. Writing is a practice which cannot be. It is not a skill. A skill is a technology, but writing is not a technology. Literacy is a technology. Orality is a technology. Speaking is not a technology. Writing is not a technology. So writing is something more than that. Because when you face the writer's block, you know you are equipped with the technology. You know how to write. But the technology never helps you in doing the writing. But you feel there are a lot of blocks. That means that technology is something different and writing is something different. Technology is literacy. So we are equipped with a lot of tools about the literacy. We know the alphabets, we know the grammar, we know the we know the pronunciation, and we know the punctuation. We know how to write, and we know different kind of textual practices there, phrases, sentences, and paragraphs, and everything we know. These are all technologies. This technology is not writing. You can learn the technology as a skill, but writing is something more than that, which cannot be learned. Writing is a practice. That is why in practice, while practicing something, we feel that there is a block. So now the problem should be addressed in this manner. So what we feel a problem in writing is not a technological problem. It is not a technological problem. A technological problem is the gradation of knowledge of a language. The gradation of knowledge for a language is different for each and everybody else. So for an example, I know 50,000 words in English, but somebody else who has who is an voracious reader, he knows 1 lakh words. It depends upon the practice of the particular person. So that is knowing the number of words and knowing the grammar and knowing the rules and regulations, knowing the punctuation, identifying the genre, what is a poem, what is an essay, what is a short story. That is all our technologies. These are all skills. So knowing all this skill never makes a person as a writer. So writing is something different. That is why we face a lot of blocks in it, a lot of problems in it, lot of flow. There is a barricades in it. So writing is not a skill, basically. If somebody says that writing is a skill which can be learned, and it is a myth. And second one, writing changes the world. No, it is also another myth. Writing never changed the world. Only books can change the world. Writing changes the human being, the individual. So writing is a practice. Writing is a habit. Writing is a way of life, and it changes that individual. So book only changes the world. Writing never changes the world. The third kind of myth is writing is a communicative tool. No, writing is not a communicative tool. Writing is a communicative tool once when that particular writing piece is distributed to all. Unless and until a writing piece is not distributed among the fellow readers and all, it never becomes a communicative tool. So distribution is the communicative tool. Writing is a practice which creates a lot of jottings and small kind of pieces and ideas in a paper and all. So writing is not basically a communicative tool. And we also say that writing is creative. No, it's also a myth. Writing is not creative. Writing is a struggle, basically. It is not creative. It never creates anything else. It is a struggle because writing precedes creativity. There should be some kind of creativity to write. Similar to that, writing is also, the people used to say that writing is innovative writing. You can't say any kind of writing is innovative. Because if there is no innovation, you can't enter into the process of writing. No, writing is not innovative. You require innovation to write. You have to feel some kind of newness, a modernity, a modern thing. You have to feel some kind of newness within you. Then you enter into the process of writing. Unless and until you feel some kind of creative urge within you, unless and until you feel some kind of newness within you, a new kind of idea, you create some kind of new idea, and then you enter into the process of writing. So, the innovation and creative and creation precedes writing, but writing is not creative, writing is not innovative. These are the myths about writing. So why I am spending a lot of time in saying what is writing, to clear out the problem, what we feel, what we experience while writing and all. To clear out the problem, I want to address the problem as such. These are the myths which is overloaded about writing, which never allows you to address the real problem of writing. The writer's block should be addressed in its entirety. To address that entirety, I am now clearing the myths. Now I am clearing the clouds over it. Now I am clearing the ground. It is not a skill. It never changes the world, but it changes the individual. It is not a communication. It is the product of it is the message. It is not communication. And writing precedes it requires some kind of creativity. Similar to that, writing requires some kind of newness. So writing is not innovative, writing is not creative, writing is not a communicative tool, writing never changes the world, writing is not a skill. Now we have to address, then what is writing? How do you call writing? Whenever you enter into the process of defining what is writing, why we face a lot of problems, there are a lot of critics available regarding the writing process and all. They used to say that writing is pretending. It pretends a lot. And they used to say that writing is systematic. And another kind of person used to say that writing is stringent. And the last critic will come and say that writing is introvert. So we have the 4 kind of critics about writing. The first critic used to say that it is pretending. The writing pretends. And there is one Nobel laureate who's called as Umberto Eco, language philosopher as well as a novelist. And he is known for the famous novel called In the Name of the Rose. It is also made into a Hollywood film. Umberto Eco, Italian novelist as well as a professor of language, he used to say that language is a bundle of lies. It is a collection of lies. Every word is a lie. So a language is a bundle of words, a collection of words. That means it is a bundle of lies. We used to lie each other. See, for an example, we used to say that there is a tree. A tree, whenever I utter the word tree, whoever hears that remembers a vague idea or a picture within themselves that what he means is tree is such and such. That is a vague tree which we remember in everybody's mind whenever we hear the word tree, or whenever we see the word tree. So here in this picture, you see the word critic. As soon as you read that word, critic, everybody has that image within themselves that a critic is a person who criticizes something. But this letters, the C, R, I, T, I, Q, U, E, never knows that we develop a image whenever we couple together. So this word is basically an accepted lie within the English-speaking personalities. The people who speak English, the people who work with English, accept this lie that if I write something as CRITIQUE, then everybody used to believe that, everybody has to believe that I am referring a person who used to questions and critics. So this is the basic lie. Every word is a lie. Whenever I say that there is a sky over our head, then immediately everybody feel, yeah, so what I refer is that bluish thing hanging over our head. It is a lie. It is a basic lie. Say a person who doesn't know English will stammer, will frighten, couldn't understand that lie. A person who doesn't know English has nothing to do with this CRITIQUE. He doesn't know what C is, what R is. So it is not real, basically. That is why Umberto Eco used to say that writing pretends. It pretends to pretend. That is why every language philosopher used to say that every word is a lie. But we accept this lie. It is an accepted lie. So everybody used to believe that lie, and that lie becomes true. So we live in a language pattern where a common lie is accepted. Everybody accepts some kind of lie, and we live within that lie. So working with language is working with the liars. That is why we call it as a signifier of the signifier. It is a signifier. It is a sign. A language is a sign. So we work with a tool, or we work with the words and the language which never reflects the reality, but it pretends to reflect the reality. Or we can say that a language or a writing is far away from reality. It's divergent from the imagination. It is very much symbolic. So this is the major problem we face while writing. So this is the major problem we face, that we remember a word which we can't write it down. In a writer's block, or when you write an essay, or when you write a letter, or when you write something, you remember that word, but you can't write it down. But you can't remember to write. So this is the peculiar problem in writing. This problem arises from the basic quality of the language, that writing is basically pretending. It is not mime. I'm not using the word miming. It is mimicking. A word cannot mimic. A word is not a mimicry. It is not a mime. Mime or a mimicry has some kind of resemblance with the object. A shadow is a mimic. A shadow is a mime of the real object, the real body and all. A shadow is always a mime. But a word is not a shadow of an object. The object tree has nothing to do with the sound or a letter tree. That is the peculiar problem of language. That is why we create a lot of writer's block within us. It is a peculiar problem, because the word has nothing to do with the object. We are working with a technology which is far away from the real to express the reality. That is the basic problem. So when you write down a particular experiment you did in our laboratory, you are trying to express that particular realness of that laboratory experiment. But writing is not capable of that. Language is not capable of that. Language can't express any kind of reality. That is why most of the atomic scientists, in a later period of time, they used to say that the subjectivity of the scientist is very much involved in identifying or understanding the nature of the atomic particle, whether it is a particle or a wave. Because the subjective I look or a gaze of a scientist is different from another gaze of a scientist. So the atomic particle will project themselves as a particle in for some kind of scientist and as a wave to the some kind of scientist. So this kind of problem is pertinent and it is very much fundamental to the language, that language is always pretending. You can't have one-to-one meaning in a language. Every word has a multiple meaning. That is the basic principle of language. That is why we face a lot of problem in writing. That is why we can't satisfy in writing anything else. That is why we fail in communication. That is why we try our best to communicate some kind of ideas to others. We try our best. It is a try to be the best, but you can't be anything else best. Because language is always pretending. That is a major problem or a congenital problem of the tool, of the technology. So here the first critic will say that the writer's block is not even a block of the writer. It is the block of the technology. Even the language itself is pretending. It is not talking about the reality. That is why we feel a lot of problems in finding the correct word, the proper word. Then I will say that there is no proper word in this world. There is no proper correct word in this world, in any kind of language. Because language is always pretending. It is always symbolic. Symbolic means you have different kind of words for a single object. One object, many words. That is the basic principle of language. Similarly, one word and many meanings. That is another kind of basic principle. It is upside down, ascending, and as well as descending. In the ascending order of meaning and the descending order of meaning. So language has a congenital inbuilt problem of pretendingness. That is why we feel blockages in writing. The second critic can come and say that it is systematic. The language is always systematic. It is monotonous. It is syntagmatic. Syntagmatic means it is linear. You have to write a sentence in a linear pattern. You are not supposed to arrange words in a paradigmatic way, in a vertical manner. You are not supposed to arrange a word in a vertical manner. That cannot be called as a writing. So writing is always requires a linearity. It always demands you to think in a singular manner. It never allows a complexity. Writing never allows a complexity. It never allows a parallelness, because writing is syntagmatic. At a given point of time, you have to write a single word, a single meaning. But in academics, nowadays, we create a problem, we experience a problem that there are parallel truths. There are parallel ideas. There are not only series of ideas, there are parallel things. But writing is not a technology to communicate the parallelism. Because at the systemic level, at the structural level, writing is always syntagmatic. It is for the linearity of the thought. That is why we feel a lot of blocks while engaging in the process of writing. It is complex. Writing, the language is complex, but it is fathomable. It can be understandable. You can identify the complexity. But at the same time, writing and the language is a democratic unit. Because there is no difference between the language of the scholars and the language of the common, or the language of the intellectual and the language of the pauper. We have a common language. Then the language measures a scholar or an intellectual or a pauper or a common man in a similar level and a similar gradation, and it systematized and it structured. The language is structured for all. There is an equality is maintained. It is a democratic principle. Then the mean of the language, the majority of the language is structured for a common man, not for the scholar or not for the intellectual. That is the systematized problem of language. So why we see a lot of problems in writing, in writing a scientific paper, in writing a scientific essay, and in writing a critical essay. Why we face a lot of problems in finding the correct word is because the language is for the common purpose. It is not a scientific language what we are using. The language is always a democratic thing. Then there is no such thing called a scientific language. A scientific language cannot be explained. So we have a natural language and we have to work with that language. But with the natural language, with the systemic language, we are trying to communicate a new kind of idea. That is the major problem we face in the name of writer's block. In the name of we lost our flow. In the name of we are in the void of words. We couldn't find the correct word and the proper word, and we lost our enthusiasm in writing. So these are all not the problem of the author or the problem of the individual, but the problem of the technology itself. The language is pretending, and the second one, the language is systematic. That is why it is for the commoners. It is not for the scientific personalities. And the third one, the language is stringent. The stringent means the writing, particularly the writing, not the spoken language, the written language, the literacy is very stringent. It restricted the circulation. It circulates within a closed group. There are limited kind of expressions. It is very much normative, and the writing is very much authoritarian also. Very much authoritarian means a single word has this kind of meaning. That is the authority of the language. You have to work within that the rules and regulations. It is a game, basically a game. Every game has a rules and regulations, and you have to move your coins according to these rules and regulations. It is a chess. It is similar to the chess. A king can move one step in all directions. Similar to that, a word can only be used as a proverb. A word can only be used only as a noun. So there are a lot of restrictions in the language. It is stringent. You can't use our word. You can't use a single word in all the places as you like, because it is systemic. Since it is systemic, it is stringent. It is a closed one. It is a restricted circulation. That is why we feel a lot of blocks in writing it. So the writer's block is not only the problem of an individual, it is the problem of the technology. It is pretending, it is systematic, it is stringent. And the fourth critic will come and say that language is introvert. Yeah, of course. It is monologue. It is a meditative. It is an individual's expression. In speaking, you recur at least another human being in front of you. But nowadays in the Zoom meeting and this Google Meet, we don't recur anybody else in front of you. We simply record a PowerPoint presentation, a slide or a computer. But in writing, you don't recur anybody else. You simply record somebody else in your vague imagination. Some kind of author, some kind of scholars, or your guide, or your fellow researcher who can be the first reader of your essay, or your boss. this kind of idea, this person's, the image of that person will sit in your mind and you started writing for that person. So the reader is always an imaginative one. So writing is always a monologue. It is meditative, it is personification, and it is anthropocene, the human-centered. And people used to say that, and all the humanity used to say that the writing becomes the milestone of the human being. So it is introverted problem. The writing problem is a problem of the introvert. So language is pretending, it is systemic, it is stringent, and it is introvert. Hence, the technology what we are using for writing or for expressing our ideas or for or as our communicative tool is congenitally flawful in 4 different areas. In the areas of structure, in the area of its theme, and in the area of its distribution, and in the area of its psyche. So it's thematically pretending, structurally systematic, and distributionally stringent, and psychically introvert language. With this language, we try to communicate different kind of ideas. This is why people used to say that this kind of technologically flawful tool makes the hygodynamics. See, the problem with writing is, problem with languages, it is not only the problem of the language, because as I given in the title of this lecture, the writing is thinking. We think through language. See, imagine a situation in which we forget our words. There is a famous novel called Latin American novel. It is written by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Somebody might have read it. It is called as the 100 Years of Solitude. It is about starting from the mythical period to present day. It is about a village and the families in that village. It is a Latin American novel. It is called as 100 Years of Solitude. So in that novel, in the entire village, one started to forget the names of the objects. That means it started to forget language. So imagine a situation when you forget all kind of words. What will be the situation like? What will be the next morning will be like? The next morning will be like a bigger void. You can't remember anything because you lost the words. Your memory will be erased. Because whatever we remember is basically rested upon the language. If there is no words, we can't remember anything. Because we remember everything in terms of sounds and letters. If there is no letters, there is no sounds. If there is no sound, then we can't have any kind of memory. That is why language is very much important. We think through language. So in the terms of psychodynamics of writing, how a writing controls our psychic practice, people used to say that it is the history of, when you talk about the history of language, the emergence of language, people used to say that the human beings created the written form only during the 6th century BC. It is only around 2,600 years back we created we invented the form of writing. So that is the period which coincides with the dominance of agrarian lifestyle. The agriculture becomes a major mode of production among the human beings, human cultures, and these are all happened in a simultaneous manner. So at one level, the agrarian lifestyle becomes dominant. At another level, writing becomes dominant. And at another level, we have the sovereignty of states, the politicalness is changing. We are moving from tribal society to the feudal society. So the writing becomes a symbol for a new way of life, that is the agricultural way of life. And this is the period we call it as culture, emergence of culture. Our culture, our way of life is very much related with the agrarian way of life. It is very much related with the written form of language. It is very much related with the state formation, and we call it as a culture. This is the thing. Actually, basically, the writing is the thing. The culture is the thing which differentiating ourselves from other organisms. So these are the positivities of writing. Now I am talking about the positivities. Earlier I talked about the critic on writing. Now the positivities of writing. Writing creates or makes ourselves human. Writing makes ourselves culture. Writing is always emerges simultaneously with a lot of emergencies. Agriculture emerges, political states formation emerges, and then writing is also emerged. And we created a new kind of being called a social animal. We used to call it ourselves a social animal. We are no more a normal animal. We are a social animal. We talk the ethics and morality and then good governance. So we call ourselves social animals. Law, justice, these are all the differentiating point of views from the other living organisms and the human being. And we call ourselves a rational being because we speak and we write. So rationality is the only positivity of writing. So we call ourselves social because we used to know, right? We call ourselves human, superior, rather than the other organisms because we know how to write. We call ourselves cultured because we know how to write. We call ourselves agrarian, the agricultural way of lifestyle people because we know writing. So social, rational, and human, and culture, and new kind of way of living, these are all culminated with the emergence and the invention of writing. So writing makes ourselves a cultured and a human and social animal being, and this is what we call this the face of Anthropocene. The human becomes the center of this world, or we tend to think, we pretend to think that we are the center of this entire universe or the entire world because of writing. We develop the writing. So writing, the positivity of writing is always related with the cognitive and the development of the psychology of writing, the psychology of the human being, the subjectivity of the human being. We create lot of psychic qualities from writing. So there are the negative things of writing and the positive thing of writing. Let me tell you what is the other development of language. So there are a lot of scientific studies about the language, how language is created and all. We have three kind of studies. One is the study which is very much mythical in nature, that every society has a myth saying that our language is created by the God. Even the European society used to say that the language is created by the God. And we used to say that Tamil is created by Shiva, and the Shiva's the drum, on the one side of the drum it creates the Tamil, the other side of the drum creates the Sanskrit. This is the mythical interpretation we have. We are basically fascinated and even afraid of the technology of the language, and we used to imagine that this kind of complex and the cultural language cannot be created by the human being. So we have an idea that it should be created by the God because it is very much complex. The language is very much complex. It is uncertain. As I told you, it is pretentious. It works in multiple directions. A human being can't control a language. A single human being can't control a language. That is why every human has created a new kind of mythical idea that a language is a God's creation. Every language has a God's creation. And the next level of scientificity and the linguistics and all kind of science has this kind of idea that no, a language is a cultural one and it is a human creation and it is real. So it is a machine, it is a technology, it is a skill, it is a tool. This kind of idea is emerged during only after 16th century and particularly the Renaissance period. So in the 18th century and the 19th century, the linguistics is a basic science which come up with the idea saying that language is not God created, it is a human created. So that is the reality of the language. But the problem is we are not working with reality, because as I told you, language, the reality of the language is it is human created, but the problem is language never tells you the reality, it pretends. So this is the complex problem. In real, it is human created, but that language never allows you to experience the real. It only allows you to the actual. So the actual of the languages, it is complex. It gives you an impression that such kind of complexity will only be possible by the gods, not by the human being. So this is the problem that we feel in language as it is at one level. We know that scientifically, we know that it is a human creation, but at the experiential level, we feel that it is very problematic, very complex. So it is God created. This is the perplexity of the language reality. But at the same time, we have three approaches to writing. We have three scientific approaches to writing. The one is the major thing. The one is the Sigmund Freud's dream manifestation. So Sigmund Freud, the psychologist, he uses the language as a tool to understand the unconscious. So that is the major advancement in it. So whatever you have problem in language, see for an example, when you start stutter, it is very much related with the psychic problem. So the psychology is a new kind of language science which deals the psyche of the human being through the symptoms of the language. So now the language becomes the symptom of psyche, the symptom of your thinking pattern. If there is any problem in your language delivery, then the psychologist will say that there is some problem, there is some error in your psychic configuration. This is the major approach which gives by Sigmund Freud to writing. He allows each and every psychic patient to write out their dreams or to speak about their psyche, about their experience. So language, for whom language becomes the symptom of psyche. So he has a basic idea that language is very much related with the psychic nature of a human being. The psyche, the soul, the life, the inertia of the human being. That is why when we feel there is a problem in finding a word, we collapsed ourselves. We felt that we collapsed. That is why the writing becomes very problematic. We feel it is very problematic because it is always construct our thinking psyche. It is always related with ourself. So this is the major outbreak in the history of language or in the history of human psychology, that Sigmund Freud's idea of writing or observing language as a symptom of the psyche will give you a clear picture about your writer's block, saying that the writer's block is not a mechanical thing, it is the block of the psyche. So you have to look into yourself, your behavior to clear that block. The language, the second one is, it is by the French theoretician, historian called Michel Foucault. He talks about the language of reason and madness. He differentiates the language saying that the reason and madness has two different kinds of languages. Whatever we use now at the popular level, at the common level, is the language of the reason. But madness, even the madness has a different kind of language. So that is the madness. That is the language of the madness. So our language is very much logic and reason and rational. But at the same time, there is a different kind of language called madness. Madness is also a language. But the problem is, a normal person doesn't know that language of the madness. As similar to a person who doesn't know a foreign language. Like. So the madness is a foreign to a reason, and reason is a foreign to a man. That is why mad people don't understand normal people, rational people. And the rational people don't understand the mad people. So these two have different kind of languages. So language in the sense is a expression of the psyche. The reason and madness is the expression of the psyche. And if this reason and madness have two different kind of language, means it is an expression of the psyche. It is a problem of the psyche. And the third one, who is a Noam Chomsky, a linguist called, he tells that there is a competency in language. So you can measure the competency of the language. You can measure the individual's competence of a language. He calls it as linguistic competence. The linguistic competence is not the measurement or the numbering of how many words he remembers, how many rules and regulations he memorized. It is not like that. The linguistic competence is the handy of the language. How you handle the language. How he is dexterous in using it. So these are the three things which can help us to overcome the writer's block, saying that the language is very much related with our psyche. The problems are very much related with our psyche, not with the technology, because the technology is always a flaw-full technology. As we see, there are a lot of problems, as well as there are a lot of advantages also in a language. The language, we know that it is pretentious, it is full of life, it is symbolic, it is stringent, it is introvert. But at the same time, it constructs ourselves. It is the symptom of ourselves. If there is any problem in using the language, you have to identify that problem within you, not in the language, not in your competence, in the linguistic competence at all. So these are the clarifications we have in this series. So next one, with these things, we can now differentiate a writer and a reader. So this is the major differentiation we have to make. So in the textual wise, there are different kinds of texts, but we always middle with all kinds of text. We have 4 different kinds of text: the writer's text, editor's text, publisher's text, and reader's text. A reader's text is the complete product or a consumer product of a writing, but a writer's text is not a consumer product. But we always confuse in this. We used to believe that we started to write an essay, but that is the basic problem. Don't start to write an essay. A good scholar or a good writer never start to write a genre. Don't start to write a project report. Don't start to write a dissertation. Don't start to write a short story. Don't start to write a novel. Don't start to write a review article. Because a writer's text has no generic label. A writer's text should be creative. It comes from the creativity, but it at the same time, it should be limitless. Don't imagine an essay before writing anything else. because we are always a reader before becoming a writer. So to become a writer, what you have to do is you have to forget that you are a reader. A reader will expect at the first level to begin a book, whether it is an article or it is a poem or it is a short story, because a reader's mind always looks for the label, look for the title, look for the title, the bibliography details. But a writer's text will never start with all these dates, all these ideas. Don't start to write an essay or a piece with the title. Don't look for the title in the beginning. As well as don't look for a genre before writing anything else. Then what should be the writing pattern should be? It should be the scrambles. You can only write scrambles. You can only write fragments. That will create the entire discourse. A writer never writes a particular novel or a short story or an essay or a book or a dissertation or a project report. He will jot down his ideas now and then. So writing is not the end product. Don't start writing at the end, because at the end you can only write your final report, your obituary. So writing is not an obituary. Essay writing is not an obituary of a laboratory experiment. A dissertation is not an obituary of a research. So writing should be parallel, should be simultaneous. That is why I want to say that it is a basic technique for a writer to be adaptive, that to be creative and be limitless, and you start writing the scrambles. Whatever come across your mind, you simply put it in words and keep it as like that, notes. Don't write the introduction in the beginning. So introduction should be written in the later part of the page. Only after completing the essay, you have to write the introduction. Because introduction is an introduction for the reader, but not for the writer. A writer never writes an introduction. A writer always writes the introduction at the concluding level. So at the end only, you can summarize that. So don't start with an introduction. But where to start? Where to start is very much relative and very much subjective to the writer, because you have to write down the scrambles and the fragments of whatever comes across your mind, whatever comes across your thought, and you have to jot it down. That is the writer's trick. That is the basic quality of the writer to overcome the writer's block. You should be a writer. Don't pretend that you are a reader. So to become a writer, to become a essay writer, or to become a scholar, you have to forget yourself, or you have to remove the linguopath within yourself. That linguopath is a critic. Don't read an essay what you are writing. That is the basic quality. Don't read it. But you can go through that with the mind of a writer. So mind of the writer is something different from the mind of the reader. A reader always looks for the final product, but a writer always looks for the new objects, new ideas. So while writing a thing, don't behave as a reader. And the second one is, you have to, after writing everything, after jotting down, after putting every ideas in a scrambles and fragments, now you want to do the editor's job. Now you have to switch over the position. Now you should be an editor of that particular writing pieces. Now what you have to do is tailoring the text, tailoring the notes. You have to stitches the note. You have to put it friend 1, 2, or 3, and you have to rearrange it, everything. You have to put the paradigmatic interrelationship between the paragraphs. You should use your editing skill as a skill of the tailor. It is the technology of the language. It is at this level you have to look for the competence. At this level you have to look for the grammatical, not at the level of the writers. Don't bother about the grammar, or don't bother about the competence, or don't bother about the language the efficiency when you jotted down your ideas at the writer's level. After finishing it, you enter into the editor mode and you start tailoring the notes, and you start doing the technology of the language, and you start looking for the competence, and you start looking for the grammatical. So at this level, you are a mechanical one. Now you are making the product a finer one. As an editor, you have to redefine it. But as a writer, you have to point it out, or you have to jot it down all the ideas into written form. As an editor, you have to stitches it. You have to textualize it. You have to maintain the entire notes. And at the third level, you have to become the publisher. Now you are thinking in terms of materialistic. Now you have a product. Now the publisher states will add all kind of scientific requirements in the bibliography, the maps, the additional, the secondary materials, the primary materials, the photographs, and the graphs, and all these things we have to put input in this. This is the publisher stage. So starting from the writer stage, that is full of scrambles and fragments, and you enter into that editor stage, that is in that way you stitches that notes into a logical one, and at the publisher stage you make it into more scientific, you make it into more figurative, and finally you have to convert it into a reader stage. This is the reader stage where you put the title and the label, and then you have to test it with other fellow researchers as whether it is that a particular text is palatable or not, whether it is consumable or not. So this is the 4 basic strategies you want to use here. And with this, I will conclude this session. And I hope I clear some of the points with my basic experience, because it is not given any theoretical thing. And these are all qualities, and these are all things I shared and I gathered from my idea. So I am happy to share all these things with you. And I take this opportunity to thank the organizers of this workshop for giving me this opportunity to share these ideas. Thank you. If you have any questions, then we will have the discussion. Thank you.
Sir?
Yeah.
Sir, this is Dr. Kannan, sir. Wonderful, sir. It was a very nice presentation, and the problems we are facing in, especially in the scientific field, particularly myself, I have clarified of everything, sir.
Yeah.
Writers, readers, editors, and publishers.
Yeah.
These are the, even in the uploading in the recent days, after the technologies have involved in that in the publishing of papers, there are many things that I have been asking. Recently, encountered a problem of Elsevier publication, which is about many technologies, but I did not know how to operate it and what to understand about that. It was so well advanced, and I could not able to do that. Very recently only I have done that.
Okay.
But successfully I did it. But this is the. But fortunately, I have a blessing to listen a wonderful presentation. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.